So what did you think of the format and everything?
I love it. I like the conversational format, right? I mean, I think people that have been in the industry as long as you and I have, we're not going to be lost for words to share some opinions about, you know, what are the decision criteria that would feed the selection of a new marketing strategy. What are some of the things that we're going to learn, right? Are we going to learn that we can get a hiring manager for 10 minutes or 1 minute? Are we going to learn that the market will consume? I mean, maybe we do, right? And I think that's all interesting and it's all natural, being in the industry as long as we have. So I love this format.
So since I got you, I'm actually recording again here. So um, the difference between employer branded videos, right,
Yeah.
and a video job ad. Employer branded videos tend, I would think, have a higher production value. You write a script, you are, using lots of B-roll footage, which is the video footage that comes in and out, things like
Hmm.
that. What role do you think employer brand videos have versus video job ads or video commercials for
Yeah.
companies?
So my belief at the moment, is that video will probably be valuable to deploy on most job postings. Uh, I have a hard time anticipating that we're going to create custom content for every job ad, though.
Yeah,
And
I
I
don't
know
think
you're
so
not.
either.
Yeah, and I know you're not suggesting that. And so that's the space where I think the employer branded advertisement or content fits nicely. When you've got jobs that perform reasonably well in the marketplace with some basic advertising strategy, it's still added value, to put a little bit of additional information out there for people to consume. And I think people will appreciate it and they'll probably consume it. I don't know that that's going to change your market penetration or your engagement level with certain tough to entice skill sets. Um, I think with those tough to entice skill sets, or where demand exceeds supply and you're getting a little friction at the advertisement level, I think that's where the video job ad comes in, because now you're trying to produce information that changes somebody's perspective on whether or not they apply. Right? You're not trying to, again, back to a distinction I made earlier. I don't think video job ads are there to educate. I think they're there to influence. I think that the employer brand videos are a bit more educational. Right? I think they're trying to communicate who we are as an entity and some of our brand value proposition, where the job ad is, in my opinion, adding novelty, to help an employer reach deeper into the market beyond layers of the purely active candidate.
So do you think that various technologies around the HR tech space, like applicant tracking systems, like CRMs, job boards for the vast majority, do you think they're really prepared to handle video?
Yeah, so there's a huge amount of content. It makes me think back to, man, this is going to be a stretch, so you're going to be patient with me on this one. But when they started putting body cameras on police, right? How to manage that data, build the infrastructure, and allow what I think is a great plan, right, and a great step to take to actually be operationalized was a real headache. Of course, the application is different and the motivation is different here in recruiting, but I think from a data processing and infrastructure perspective, we're going to face similar challenges. And I do think that it's coming. I don't think it's a question, right? Because we're talking about video job ads here. I anticipate, and this is not particularly, Karnak the Amazing. I think that this is foreseeable. I
I like how you.
anticipate that.
I like how you
Yeah.
did it.
I think that we're going to be able to, or I think that we're going to start allowing candidates to interact back with us via video as well. Right. So
Mhm.
we're going to push content out to the marketplace, and we're going to move in the direction of video content. I don't think that there's many credible dissenting opinions from that movement. Right. And then I think the next logical step is going to be to open the doorway for the candidate to now interact back with us in a format besides the resume. The resume is not going to go away. I don't believe so. I don't think
No,
there's a
I don't
chance that.
think it can really.
No,
So
the resume stays, but in the same way that the video job ad complements the job description, which isn't going away, I think that candidates are going to have the opportunity to interact back with employers via video in a way that complements their resume. When we do that, we're talking about petabytes of data just to
yeah.
single employers, right? I mean, just
Yep.
enormous amounts of data.
Well, 5G will solve a lot of the bandwidth issues, but I think that applicant tracking systems and CRMs really need to be concerned about what's your content management strategy for video and recruitment marketing content in general, right? Um, Most of the ATS and CRMs are not really created to do campaigns. They're not
Hmm.
very good at it. Setting up a landing page is difficult at best if you're even able to do it. Adding video to that is even more difficult. And then putting it into a trigger action follow-up sequence campaign with
Yeah.
recruit marketing automation and drip campaigns and sign up pages and lead magnets and all that stuff, they're not built for that, right? Which is why I always took it out of the ATS and CRM environment and put it into something like Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, or Kartra, just to manage those funnels.
I was going to say that's out of necessity, right?
Yes, but it
And
doesn't have to be. It does it because the HR technology, the ATS and CRM are not built for that, right? So I had to.
well, there's still a heavy leaning in the direction of compliance. I mean, even some of the new ATS technologies that are coming out now, there's search functionality, let alone some of this content management stuff you're talking about. The search functionality is garbage.
Yeah.
When you have innovators, and I think there's a couple, and I'm not gonna name names because I'm not being sponsored for this video, but there's a couple ATS providers out there that are leaning in the direction of innovation and user experience. And on the user experience side, I mean the recruiter, right?
Yeah.
And making it a system that actually facilitates doing a better job recruiting, as opposed to simply facilitating doing a better job complying.
Yeah.
One other thought that I think will be an exciting innovation is when ATS technologies allow the video content to be searchable, right? So granted,
You
YouTube
just
is.
added the amount of complexity you just
Oh, I
added to
know.
that is just
Yeah. No,
insane.
I'm not. I mean, we're not looking 2 years down the road. But think about what YouTube does, right? And granted, I recognize the chasm, right, that exists
Yeah.
between YouTube and Google and an ATS provider. But YouTube makes extraordinary amounts of video content searchable. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that will come to recruiting, and that's going to revolutionize the way that candidates and employers interact.
And it's transcribed and it's got closed caption. Um, the
It's
problem that
phenomenal.
I would not recommend, unless you have no other option, putting your recruiting videos on YouTube, right? It's certainly a viable option.
Oh yeah,
You can put an apply link in the description, but if you have to do it, but there's better ways of doing it
yeah,
than
I
throwing
wasn't.
it up on YouTube.
I hear you, and I agree. I wasn't suggesting use YouTube for that. I was just
Yeah.
referencing the capability of the
Yeah,
technology.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that kind of going back to what we were talking about is with the video job ads and the employer branding, right? One of the things that I found really useful was to do a video voicemail leading to a video job ad, leading to an employer brand video, right?
Mm-hmm.
This way you've got an actual campaign. Video voicemail is, hi, my name's Jeff. I'm a recruiter I've got a position for, really like to speak to you. Click the link and boom, it goes right into the video job ad, which explains all the minimum skill set requirements, who, what, when, where, why, how, of the position, cultural video, etc. And then once they watch that, want more information, or are you ready to apply now? If they apply
Yeah.
now, boom, great. Go into the ATS or CRM. If they need more information, what about my culture? You can start providing them culture videos.
Yeah. So I have a couple of thoughts about that. One, what you're suggesting, so video voicemails are usually outbound marketing, right? So they're demand generation in a way that a job ad's not. And I think that that's an important thing to highlight, because again, I believe that we consume information in a context, and that's, again, is not particularly insightful. But when you're looking at the user experience and the way that somebody interacts with a job board, it conditions them to certain expectations. But when you're doing outbound marketing and you're leading with a video voicemail, you can set the context. One of the things that's interesting about setting the context in your outbound marketing with a video voicemail is you're setting the context as human first, right? It's interactive. That's a thought that's worth playing around with, and a strategy that's worth testing to see how much you can improve candidate engagement and follow through and decrease ghosting, right? So we've been talking about it in the industry for at least 2 years now. with the dehumanization, and it's been going on for a long time, of the apply experience and the way that the candidate experience has devolved, and I do think it's a devolution, into a numbers game. You're seeing less human behavior, right? And obviously it's humans, but they're not offering, and you said it earlier, that reciprocity that you would normally give if you knew that you were interacting with a person. You show up for the phone call, you do what you say that you're going to do. We don't feel that reciprocity for a computer screen, but we do for other people. And when you lead with a video voicemail, you set your marketing context as human first, I expect that you're going to see better candidate follow through and a decrease in ghosting and candidates just not showing up for things.
Let me ask you, for a company that was interested in getting started in video, you've been using video for what, 10 years now, at least, in the recruiting process. There's a big hurdle, right? Just the knowledge gap that is, evidently there.
Yeah.
You have to select the right jobs. You have to know what your script is going to be. You have to know how to record and edit so you don't look like a complete clown. And then how do you share it? Where do you think recruiters or VPs or directors, where should they start?
Yeah. So the way that I did it was leverage the passion and interest of your recruiters. My experience leading recruiters is they're tired of being told that this new sourcing strategy is going to make their problems go away. Whether it's a technology, whether it's a Boolean search method, whether it's a new name generation service, there's a lot of panacea fatigue in the recruiter base. And so if you come forward as a TA leader and you push this new initiative, if you do it across your team or you do it in a non-voluntary manner, I think you're going to invoke the typical resistance that I think is perfectly well founded throughout your recruiter base. And that's, I'm tired of being told this is going to solve my problems. The reality, though, is that if you offer this to somebody by election, they decide, I'd like to test this, and you limit your investment of time to a smaller set of recruiters that are passionate about this, they're going to invest in it and they're going to troubleshoot in a way that if it was mandated, they wouldn't. There's an interesting book that I think we've probably all seen snippets of on LinkedIn. I think it's Dan Pink, and he talks about autonomy, mastery, and purpose, right? The ability to direct your own work, the opportunity to get better at something, and to know that what you're doing matters. When you apply that perspective to sourcing innovation and you offer to your recruiters the opportunity to direct their own activity and master something that is new, you're going to capture a lot of motivation that you won't have if you mandate it. So long story short, I would bet you dollars to donuts that if you offered the opportunity to your recruiters to opt into it, you're going to have a couple early adopters that want to figure out how to do this. And that's probably the best way to get data and evidence that this does or doesn't work for your organization.
So for those organizations that already have a digital recruiting or digital marketing team, do you really think these are recruiters, or do you think they should be digital marketers, digital recruiting?
Well, so if they've already got infrastructure and they've already got that delineated, right, as a skill set, yeah, I mean, I think there is a specialization here. My experience is I've not had teams that often have that set aside. Some more advanced TA entities may already have that refinement in their role and org design, and God bless you if you do. And yeah, I think it is a specialized role if you have the luxury of that degree of specialization.
So what if you don't, though? Would you actually test it out with a few recruiters, see who actually has the interest level, and then eventually move it in? If the numbers prove it works, right? Move it into a digital recruiting role or digital marketing role and let them handle all the positions?
Yeah. So whether or not I created a specialized role would depend on how universally I want to use the strategy and what the data is that I'm getting in terms of evidence of an ROI for the time, right? And so if you look at an organization, I'm going to create a sort of a cartoon organization here. Good organization with an average salary across their employee base of, let's say, $80,000, right? So more on the tech or high compensation end of the spectrum. Great organization, professional, business to business type of an entity, right? So they have no consumer brand. When you're a desirable organization with no consumer brand, what tends to happen is you have to source for more of your roles than some other entity with the same exact business that has a consumer level awareness at the apply level, right? So if you're a business to business entity with great desirable jobs, you're probably going to get a greater return on investment from a video strategy because you're going to deepen your engagement and attention level with the marketplace. So if you're a business to business brand with good jobs, there's probably warrant to create a specialized role, right? Because you're actually differentiating your apply level and your apply quality through the new strategy. If you're a consumer level brand and you're playing around with video because it's trendy, if I was a betting man, I'm not sure you're going to have sufficient change in outcomes to warrant creating a specialty role, right? Maybe you do because of the brand investment, your consumer level brand, but I don't know if the justification of that role or department would be on the basis of the recruiting level ROI. It would probably be more on the brand level investment as opposed to recruiting ROI.
So I would recommend, if you're watching this video right now, rewind it 3 minutes, get out a piece of paper and pencil, and write down exactly what Steve just said, because that's your business justification and your business criteria for whether you should be using video and whether you should be creating a digital recruiting team that just specializes in video and campaigns and stuff. I mean, that was very succinct.
Yeah, and shoot me a message on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I have deep passion for tying org design at the recruitment department level and ROI at the sourcing strategy level back to the actual performance in the market, as opposed to what's trendy in the market, if that makes sense.
So you're getting into some of the data analytics side, right? So I know you've got a new venture that you're kicking off, Modus TA. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Modus TA is an organization that is passionate about partnering with TA departments that are committed to driving forward their own talent maturity model, right? So we're not an outsourcing entity, right? We want to come alongside organizations that are now trying to decode, how do I select the right technology? How do I make a data-driven selection on which sourcing channels I'm going to use? And how do I fit my org design at the recruiter level to the actual fingerprint of my organization, right? So if I have 80% of my roles appropriately filled by applicants, you should have a different org design than if you have 40% of your roles filled by applicants. And we can talk for hours on why that is. But Modus TA is interested in partnering with companies and applying data to solve some of the complexities that exist in the recruiting strategy space today.
It's using data to make decisions, right? Simple
Absolutely.
as that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of what a lot of recruiters or recruiting leaders I find is they do it by gut instinct, right? Pound the phone or post a job on a job board, or if that doesn't work, post it on another job board. They're not doing it by data. They're doing by how much budget they have, how many recruiters they have, and just their gut experience or gut decision making.
Yeah. One of the things that I think's changed, and when we talk about talent acquisition, we've for a long time talked about talent acquisition as art and science, right? When your market is stable, when the technologies that you use don't change rapidly, you have the luxury to build up art-based decision making, right? You have experience, you have war stories, and you can make appeals to authority. I think the art of recruiting and appeals to authority are very, very similar. The problem most of us are facing in talent acquisition these days is the technology base that we're leveraging is changing too quickly, and the response from the markets and the needs of our business are evolving too rapidly to allow us the luxury of art-based decision-making. The good news is that there is available to us data-based decision-making. It's putting a lot of pressure on what you're saying though, which is post here, try this, try that. You burn through a lot of your talent acquisition budget, and then you face a lot of pressure from the business for results because you deployed capital or you deployed budget on strategies that aren't producing the results that you need.
That's exactly it. I mean, no company has a infinite amount of budget. No company has an infinite amount of resources. There's a few out there that think they do, but they certainly do. The tide always turns, right? So we're heading out of this. We have not had a recession in 10, 12 years. We are probably heading into a recession now in 2020, maybe 2021. How does this affect that?
Well, it raises the importance of database decision making, right? And it raises the importance of doing some of the analytics that during, when we're making hay as the sun is shining, you don't need to be as refined with the way that you structure your recruiting roles, the way that you design your organization, or the technologies and the sourcing strategies you select. Because growth allows a slight imprecision. And I don't mean that negatively, right? It's one of the luxuries of growth is there's a little bit more play in the joints because you're constantly expanding. But when you're contracting, you don't have that play in the joints, right? Everybody's looking for, where am I going to get accelerated ROI? What can I afford to cut without changing outcomes? And if you want to make instinct-based decisions, God bless you if you get away with it. But for most of us, we need to make database decisions. And the good news is that we live in a time for talent acquisition when that's available to us, right? 15 years ago, you may have wanted to make database decisions, but the systems weren't there to produce the data to actually do the analysis. Thank goodness that now we do have access to the data to be able to take a step back and say, all right, let's apply a little bit of rigor to the way that we're selecting, and let's follow theories and test them so that we actually know the ROI is valid and can expand it if it's showing up in the data.
Create a hypothesis, test the hypothesis, prove it out, and then repeat, rinse. It's not difficult.
Right. That's right. Us recruiters, we're closet scientists.
Yeah. So this second recording was kind of like the after hours recording, Steve. Thank you so much. We got another 20 minutes of content here. I'll throw that up on the website also. Thanks for joining me today, Steve. Any last words?
No, Jeff, great conversation. I always enjoy talking to you. I appreciate it.
All right, man. You're the best. Make it a great one, everybody. Thanks a lot.